I still remember how it felt to listen to our music back in really good studio speakers. It was like, oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless here. What's up, music lovers? Good to see you. My name is Rowe. I'm a working singer-songwriter. Today, we're going to be talking about the first time I recorded in a professional music studio. So, if you don't know who I am, I've been a working musician for over 20 years now. I've done well over 1,000 shows all over the country, either with my bands, Big Leg Emma and 5 Cubic Feet, or as a solo acoustic performer. And I've recorded quite a bit. So I've made 9 solo albums in both of my bands. We put out 5 or 6 CDs in that world too. So I've spent a lot of time in either 2 arenas, either on the road or in the studio. That's kind of the life of a working musician, well, before the internet, right? So, but kind of as with the internet also. But as technology has changes and as social media has arisen, the studio experience has certainly changed. Recording high quality music has definitely become more of a topic of debate because of social media and the ability to easily create music, record it, and distribute it. Because it used to be really hard and expensive to record good music and distribute it. So let's talk about pre-internet first. So let's talk about before Pro Tools first. Digital recording. And this is kind of techie for some of I'll make this short. In the early 90s, we switched over to recording digitally, which made it so that people could record at home. The invention of the home studio became really popular in the 90s and has grown ever since. Through the 2000s, through the 2010s, everybody's got a home studio now. So how much time I've spent in my own personal studio versus a professional studio is gray area. But I have spent a lot of time in pro recording studios. So let's stick to that topic. The first time I recorded in a professional studio, I've approximated I was 18 years old. And my first band, 5 Cubic Feet, had rented some studio time from a studio in Ithaca, New York called Electric Wilburland. Woo! Shout out to Will Russell, who owns Electric Wilburland, an amazing studio. And I've done many projects there since. But going into that first experience, I was nervous, obviously. Anyone would be. My band had rented time on the faith that we were going to learn something in this process. And we cared enough about music to take that leap of faith that, okay, this is going to elevate us as musicians. It's going to teach us how to record on good microphones, how to listen to headphones. There's so much about recording in a pro studio that you just got to dive into. And now, like I said, with the invention of the home studio, where you can do all your pre-production ahead of time, like teenagers and 20-somethings, they get used to hearing their voice. But we couldn't do that until you got in a pro studio and put on the headphones and sang on a microphone. So it was like the moment of discovery. You're like, whoa, that's what my voice sounds like on the best gear possible. And the other thing is like, oh no, my guitar is way out of tempo on this click track. I'm not playing with the drums at all. Like, you're listening to the speakers and it's telling you reality. Sometimes it's a reality you didn't even know existed when you're young and don't have the experience. Obviously, nobody goes into the studio a great recording musician the first time, right? So just a little bit more about the backstory. My band, 5 Cubic Feet, my high school band, we were playing at the Great Blue Heron Festival, and I have another video about that called The First Time I Played for 1,000 People, which will be right here, boom. So check that out. But yeah, we played at the Great Blue Heron Festival. I also did that with my other band, Big Leg Emma, for many years afterwards. But Big Leg Emma was connected, or the Great Blue Heron was connected to a roots music scene, an Americana music scene. And this band called Down of the Buffalo, who are like Americana heroes in our area. And they have been touring nationwide for well over 30 years now, I think. Down of the Buffalo are like amazing musicians and they're like one of the kings of Americana in the festival band circuit. So check out Down of the Buffalo too. Someone who had been recording a lot of these Americana bands that we looked up to, his name is Will Russell. And he has this great studio in Ithaca, New York. Actually, it's in Newfield, New York, right outside, called Electric Wilburland. So we had been getting CDs from Down of the Buffalo and the Great Blue Heron Festival, and just the working scene that were being produced and recorded by Will Russell. So we booked a weekend there. So we did our best. We did our pre-production, which was basically just learning the songs and getting them done as well as we could. I don't even think we had them to click track yet, which is, for those who don't know what a click track is, it's beep, 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 beep. So you basically put the tempo of the song into your ears while you're recording the tracks so that it's structurally correct. So as you add other instruments, they play along with the beep as well. So that's called a click track. But that's something that you have to get used to in a professional recording studio. So we went out to Electric Wilburland for a weekend, like maybe it was 3 days of recording. And I remember thinking to myself, we'll probably be a different band after this. This was definitely a moment in time when we're going to learn a lot about ourselves, both as a recording band and how do we function as a unit in high pressure situations. You learn that on the road and at gigs and in band meetings, which is a whole other, I got to make a band meeting video. Okay, I will do that at some point. Stay tuned for top 10 issues at band meetings coming up. Oh, that's going to be a gem. Okay. Oh, there's another video I want to make called Being in a Band. Well, anyway, so the first recording at Electric Wilburland, we just did a 5-song demo in 3 days. No overdubs. Like, so basically live. You know, just trying to get the essence of the song. Oh, we might have done some electric guitar overdubs. I don't think so, though. Oh, and we did vocals, of course. Yes, we definitely did vocals. So we did record the instruments one at a time, but you know, there wasn't any expansive production quality. It was the instruments we were playing, right? So that was great, an unbelievable experience. Like, I still remember how it felt to listen to our music back in really good studio speakers. It was like, oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless here. We can really do anything that we want in the studio. And as long as we stick to it, to commit to the vision and the process of doing it, anything is possible. I love the studio, and I've loved the studio more than the road. I'm definitely one of those musicians that like prefers the creation of the art and the writing and the production and putting string tracks to things and just like invention. I love invention. So the studio became an obsession for me. And then between the years of like 1996 and 2010, so that's about 14 years, studio, studio, studio. That's all I wanted to do. In those times, I made tons of recordings, both at home. So after that first recording, then I said, great, I'm making my own studio at home. I put together my own little pre-production studio and I started inventing arrangements of songs at home. So then what ends up happening is you get into a cycle, a cycle of write the song. I would say the whole creative process goes, the song comes to me, I learn about it, I rewrite it, I edit, I get the song done enough, I play it live, I prove that it's good, I might make a pre-production video, then I record it again at home to click track just to get it flushed out, then I take it to a real studio. And by the time it gets to a real studio, it's got hours and hours and hours of work under it. And I have a basic gist of where it's going. And in a professional studio, that's where you spend the most money. So you got to do all that work ahead of time to save yourself the money and the time with these other great qualified people like studio musicians, engineers, producers, all people who chip in to make this a really quality record. So these are things that I learned between 1996 and 2010. Then comes social media, and it's like, holy cow, now we've got this huge distribution channel through Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and not to mention all the musical outlets that showed up, like MySpace and Napster and iTunes and Pandora and Spotify and now Apple Music and Amazon Music. It just keeps growing, right? So the distribution is endless. But the Pro Studio is where it all began for me back in 1996. So that frame of reference has stayed with me all this time. And this is one of the reasons why I'm making this video, is because I really think that high quality, high fidelity music is going to return soon. Like, we've gone through a really bad period of poor audio, and it's really diluted the musical experience. I have some theories on this too. One is, between 2010 and now, which is 2020, it's been a visual decade. Everything we've done has been looking at screens, like the computer, social media. We've been on Facebook all day. These phones showed up, and all we do is look at these phones. Instagram, all these applications have made it so that the majority of our time is spent looking at things, not listening to things. Listening has become the afterthought for the last 10 years. But I think that's going to come back around again, which means high fidelity, good sounding music is going to come back again too. So if you're a young band, if you're a working band, if you're an older band, whatever, if you're a musician, I would seriously consider making good sounding records again. Like, go back into real professional studios. So eventually I graduated to another great studio called Echo Mountain Recording Studios in Asheville, North Carolina. An amazing studio. And they have mics down there that are the best microphones in the world, and a beautiful church-like setting in Asheville, North Carolina. Many songwriters and bands that I look up to, like the Avett Brothers, they recorded there. They have a great Americana scene, and they're somewhat close to Nashville, so they get some country people too. But when I made my most popular album, which is in 2010, called High Love, I recorded that at Echo Mountain Recording Studios with great studio musicians. Danny Kadar produced it for me. I love Danny. He's an amazing guy and just a really really stand-up dude. And then we had engineers. Julian was there, and Julian was an amazing engineer for me. And anyway, it was a moment in time for me. 2010 was. Ever since then, I've been putting out records all along, but I haven't had an experience quite as high quality as that one, where I spent like 2 years doing pre-production, singing, doing many different versions of a song before it was finally recorded. So the last decade for me has been a little bit more about live documentation. Like, I learned all these songs between 96 and 2010, also on the road, traveling and doing gigs and flushing out my material and my message. And then when social media landed, it was like, now we have this distribution. Let's pay attention to the internet and less touring and way more digital consumption by the audience, right? So they need videos. So what I did was I would make those videos, but record them high quality audio and then release the audio as the album. So it's the models were starting to flip as time went on. But I really feel like we're going to be coming back to good sounding records again soon. But all of it started back at Electric Wilburland in 96. It was an amazing time. It's so hard to think back on what life was like before the internet. It really has changed everything. Now my demos are YouTube videos. It used to be my demos were dictaphone recordings. A dictaphone is like a cassette tape that you put in a little thing and record it. So I've had recording contraptions my whole life, starting from a 4-track when I was 16 years old, a 4-track cassette player, all the way up to, so I went from a 4-track cassette player to an ADAT machine, which had a VHS that you put in it. And in fact, my band got 2 ADAT machines so we could record 16 tracks. And then we went from that to personal computers, and then I had an iMac, and then I went to Pro Tools for a long time. Then I went from Pro Tools. Pro Tools was a long run, probably 10 years. Now I record on Ableton Live, which is more of an editing software. But I love the studio. It's one of my favorite parts about doing this. Anyway, this has been a super long video. I didn't expect it to go this long. Thank you for watching it. Subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this, and go check out some of my other stories and other videos. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.